Hello. YouTube restart part two. What in the frog am I thinking? Have you ever acted on an idea and then right after you get yourself knee deep into it, it seems like one of those really terrible ideas? You ask yourself questions like, what made me think I could do this? Like any of it. Do I even have a hint of permission from my brain to do this? I don't have enough energy or knowledge, and I'm struggling through it. And at least for me, this is uncharted, uncomfortable territory. YouTube. It was distressing. On the other hand, it was a good distraction from hours of research I was doing to find out what health issues I was dealing with and how I would be able to turn it all around within a year. I'm Gina T, spirit-led life mentor and trainer, and I'm here to share what might be helpful to you in some way. Not necessarily that you're going to start a YouTube channel, but you might. And maybe some of my experience can help you, or at least let you know that you are not alone. When you begin to renew your life, taking one small step at a time, it can be a strange upheaval, like excavating the mountain to uncover what's going on underneath and making space to replace it with what you really want. The thing is, sometimes you don't even know you need to make such a big change until it's in your face, usually with other challenges and one thing after another becoming messier and messier. If you've had this happen, you definitely are not alone, and it's really not your fault. Some of it is your doing because when you figure out what you don't want or no longer want, and your desire is for your life to change, possibly a few levels above where you've been, it's necessary, as I said in part one, the YouTube restart, for things to get crazy and maybe even desperately chaotic. If you didn't hear and respond to the first pains of discomfort, they will get deeper and deeper until you finally had enough and take responsibility to make the big changes. People get stuck in the day-to-day business of living without even realizing the water's boiling. You've probably heard the metaphor about the frog in the pot of water, but I'll say it anyway. When you put a frog in a pot of boiling water, it will instinctively jump out and get away from you as fast as possible. But if you put a frog in a pot of cool water and slowly turn up the heat, soon your frog leg dinner will be served. Well, I don't really know if that's such a delicacy, but it's the way the metaphor goes. It's the same with people. When you keep doing the same things over and over, it's harder to notice how harmful it can be in small doses until you feel the damage. If something feels off, it most likely is. Trust your gut. Ask yourself, if you had walked into the situation that day, would it be acceptable, or would you try to make changes as soon as possible, or maybe even run away? Then you need to assess the situation and reconsider how to change it or make it better or put a stop to it, or maybe even just pieces of it. I knew that last year. I know this because it's a big part of what I do in my business, helping women move into a life that ignites the fire in their soul. But during the previous year, I was like a puddle of mud trying to haul myself uphill, although I couldn't even think clearly enough to find a direction. For more insight into why, listen to the previous video, which I'll put in the description below. This video is mainly talking about taking a slightly calculated risk and moving into the thing you need to do that may feel obnoxious, but is the very thing you need to get those old gears moving again. My desire is to use my situation to show you you're not alone and you can do this. It's important to be honest with yourself, then find people like yourself who have been or are facing and overcoming the same challenges and who can caringly support each other along the path. For me, it was a curious thing how my health needed the same level of motivation as my business at the same time. to find and flip the switch back on. And most likely, I needed a new level of believing in myself to do something so daring as YouTube videos. That was the farthest thing from my psyche at the time. It was critical to remind myself that I didn't want to continue the spiral into only existing at mediocre in any part of enjoying life. That thought was the aggravating incentive that got me out of bed each morning to work on the two equally significant projects. Even though I started out frustrated and clueless as to how, there I was, attempting something so uncomfortable and foreign to me as YouTube, while at the same time dissecting my health issues to solve whatever it was and ask better questions at the doctor's office. Since several women have asked for more details on how to rejuvenate physical wholeness, I'll talk more about the health revelations in the next video. Almost every single day, I got up and I kissed the ugly frog before taking a much needed break. Nope, it wasn't my husband or boyfriend. I don't have one for the moment. That's just another fun frog metaphor for doing the difficult thing you don't want to do at first, at the beginning of the day, so that the rest of the day is easier or at least more bearable. The main occurrences for this channel were writing, making videos or posting and researching how to improve. When you're faced with that proverbial fork in the road, how do you handle it? How do you get inspired to go for it when it's obviously much bigger than you feel qualified to do? What if no one, I'm sorry, that's right. What if no one close to you thinks it's a good idea or might even mock you, which happens? Do you say, forget about it? I completely understand that. That's where I stood once again, facing the huge thing in front of me that made me feel unqualified. It became more frustrating, and for the time being, I had to become stoic to stay on track and work within the time I blocked out each day. In these situations, I usually begin to mentor myself just as I would someone else. As I mentioned in the part 1 video, no matter what the big thing is, it doesn't need to be perfect. You just need to get started. I did a little, and I mean very little research, because there was no time or energy to react to being overwhelmed. I began by writing out an outline and making videos on Zoom. I had no way to edit and didn't really know how, so I'd record a few times and settle for the less flawed video. I began thinking I would be I would be interviewing or adding videos from other experts in their fields. Of course, this was because I believed a lie that I was not accomplished enough to fill up my own channel by myself. So when that didn't work out, well, because my guests weren't interested in my channel as much as I was, which happens, a lot of people are not going to be as interested in your vision as you are, but that's because it's your vision. It's not theirs. I had to come to terms with either I do this on my own and only share my content joyfully, or I don't do it at all. This brought me back to why I am doing it in the first place. Being called to do something isn't about what you know or don't know. It's about what you're willing to do and how love and compassion drive you to serve others. I didn't feel good much at the time. I was sleepy and fuzzy, but I kept moving forward anyway. It reminded me of the one time I was in and finished a marathon. The last 6 miles were crushing me on the lovely island of Oahu, just after summiting Diamond Head. I tried not to limp or cry very much. Kind people on the side of the road asked if I wanted to lie down, and I said, no, thank you, knowing that if I did, I wouldn't get back up again. I didn't know why everyone seemed so concerned until after crossing the finish line. And when I arrived at my hotel room, I saw the blood-soaked sock in my right shoe. That explained a few things, as well as a little bit of pain there. It was right then, while I was recalling the marathon, that I knew, since I was able to accomplish all that I had done in my life so far, from the small details to those that matter much more than my own life, I could do this. I was even more determined to get through the daunting task of creating a successful YouTube channel and making it the larger part of my purpose. I do this because I'm compelled to impact people around me, to live in joy, love, grace, and compassion, and to create ripples of goodness that hopefully the apathetic atmosphere seeping into our world lately could change for the better. I want that to be able to encourage you. I want it to be something that you can listen to and know that since I can take this chance and there's no anvil falling from the sky, you can do the same thing. You're really not doing anything differently than following your own calling, following your heart. And when you follow your heart, yeah, there will be things that'll happen that will just be a little more difficult. The mountain you have to get over, but it's only a mountain. The valley you have to walk through, but it's only a valley. So take a chance on yourself, invest in yourself. And no, I'm not asking you to spend any money here. I'm just saying invest your time and your energy and your resources into your heart's vision, into your heart calling. All right. For the next video, I'll wrap up the forward motion by playing bigger portion. I'll put a few links in the description if you're interested in learning more from people who've been doing this a long time, because I haven't, and I'm still learning from those same people. Next time, we'll talk about motivation and momentum to get started and keep going. Thank you for listening to the end. I'm so excited that you're here and I love hearing from people about what you want me to talk about next. Send questions and suggestions in the comments. I'll be back next week. And as always, live excellently, give generously, and love lavishly. See you then. Mwah.